extract like the big things that are happening, the insights,
Yeah.
what are the real paths forward?
Well,
And so you can leave feeling like, okay, I get what's happening and I understand what can be done
right.
without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's the key, right? I mean, it's such a huge topic. It's so easy to get lost. So to guide us through this complexity, we've got it's this amazing conversation. I think it was really, really interesting between Sarah Green, the environmental journalist, and
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Michael Carter, the climate scientist, and then Dr. Priya Anand, renewable energy expert.
Yeah, she was great. Really knew her stuff. So think of it this way. We're kind of like taking all their expertise and boiling it down for you.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Let's
like
see.
a cheat sheet almost.
Exactly. So by the end, you should have a way better grasp of the science behind it all, what's going on globally with policy, what are the crazy new innovations coming out with like clean energy, corporate sustainability,
Right.
and importantly, what can you actually do that makes a difference?
Right. Like, how do you fit in to this whole?
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack it.
Yeah.
Starting with really the science.
Yeah.
What's driving this whole conversation?
Yeah. And Dr. Carter was really good on this. Like the science is really clear.
Yeah.
It's hard to ignore at this point. I mean, the
Yeah.
last decade, it wasn't just warming, it broke all the records,
It was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just this gradual thing. Like the data shows it's actually speeding up.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the results of that. I mean, the wildfires,
Oh, yeah.
the hurricanes,
More intense. Yeah.
the droughts.
Yeah.
They're all getting worse everywhere.
Yeah, those extreme events, they definitely get your attention.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And then there's just this one number Dr. Carter talked about, carbon dioxide levels, over 420 parts per million,
Yeah.
highest it's ever been in human history.
It puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. It's
Yeah.
like, wow. And he was really clear about what's causing it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the big one. Burning fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Coal, oil, natural gas.
Mm.
It's the main thing driving these greenhouse gases up.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. We're also cutting down forests like crazy.
Right. The Amazon, all that.
Exactly. And forests are like the planet's lungs, right? They suck up the CO2. So we're basically making it harder for the planet to breathe.
Yeah. And then there's also agriculture,
Oh, yeah.
like industrial scale farming, not helping either.
Right. It's also, it reduces that natural absorption
Yeah.
of the CO2.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, totally. We're putting more of these heat-trapping gases up there, and we're making it harder for the Earth to get rid of them.
Ugh, not good. And then he talked about this thing, tipping points.
Oh, yeah.
What are those?
Okay, so imagine a bunch of dominoes lined up. Tipping points are like those key dominoes that once they fall, it sets off this whole chain reaction
Okay.
that we can't stop. Like, for example, the Arctic sea ice is melting super fast, right? And it's not just bad for the polar bears. That ice reflects sunlight back into space. So when it melts, you get more dark ocean, and that absorbs more heat,
Oh, I see.
which makes the warming even
Oh,
worse.
right,
It's
right,
a
yeah.
big driver of sea levels rising.
Right.
You got ocean acidification. The ocean is trying to help, right?
Right.
It absorbs a lot of that extra CO2.
Okay.
But when it does that, it changes the chemistry of the water, makes it more acidic, and that's really bad for marine life, especially coral reefs, which are like the nurseries of the ocean.
Yeah.
And then maybe the scariest one, at least in the short term, is permafrost thawing. So permafrost is this. It's this frozen ground that has a ton of methane trapped inside it. And methane is a way worse greenhouse gas than CO2. So if that thaws out and releases all that methane, that could really accelerate global warming.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these tipping points, they're all connected. Like the melting ice
Yeah.
can make the permafrost thaw faster.
Right.
It's a mess.
It sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
And Dr. Carter kept mentioning this 2 degrees Celsius number.
Oh, right.
Why is that like the magic number?
Well, scientists have figured out that if the planet warms more than 2 degrees compared to like pre-industrial times, it's way more likely to trigger those tipping points.
Right.
And then you get all these really bad things happening, like way more extreme weather, problems with food and water, people having to move because their homes are no longer livable, ecosystems getting destroyed.
So basically, we got to do everything we can to stay below that 2 degree mark.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so the science it is what it is. It's not good. But let's talk about what people are actually doing about this globally. What are the efforts?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So Dr. Nan was really interesting on this. She talked about like the policies, the international agreements. And she started with the Paris Agreement.
Right. Everyone was talking about that a while back.
Yeah, and it was a big deal. I mean, for the first time, you had almost every country in the world agreeing to try and limit warming to well below 2 degrees, and ideally even lower to 1.5.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, it was. It was this big framework. And it sent this message that, okay, climate action. This is something we all need to do together.
But it sounds like what she was saying is that the actions haven't really matched the talk.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem. A lot of countries have these big goals for reducing emissions, but they haven't actually put the policies in place to make it happen.
Like what kinds of policies?
Well, for one thing, you still have a lot of countries subsidizing fossil fuels,
Oh, wow.
which makes no sense if you're trying to move away from them.
Right?
And then there's politics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Different countries have different interests, and sometimes it's really hard to get everyone on the same page.
That's so frustrating. It's like we know what we need to do, but
Right. It's slow going. But Dr. Anand also pointed out some things that are actually working, like good news.
oh, good.
Yeah, there are some bright spots. So the EU, the European Union, they have this Green Deal, which is really ambitious. They want to be carbon neutral by 2050,
Wow.
which is huge.
Yeah.
And the U.S. rejoined the Paris Agreement, and they've been putting some policies in place to support clean energy.
Okay, that's good.
And another cool thing is that a lot of developing nations are investing more and more in renewable energy, even though they're facing all these economic challenges.
That's pretty inspiring. Like they're
Yeah.
really taking it seriously.
Yeah, I think people are starting to realize that clean energy is just better in the long run for the environment, for the economy.
So it's not all doom and gloom, but it sounds like Dr. Anand thinks we need to really step it up with policy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She talked about needing stronger tools,
Okay. Like with
like carbon pricing,
Mhm.
which is basically you put a price on carbon pollution so companies have a financial incentive to cut their emissions.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then she talked about incentives for green technology, like tax breaks, subsidies, things to get those innovations happening faster.
Yeah, make it easier.
Exactly. And then stricter regulations on industries that pollute a lot,
Yeah.
making sure everyone's accountable.
It's like a carrot and stick approach.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Let's talk about something a little more hopeful. Renewable energy. Dr. Anand I think she was pretty excited about this, like a real solution.
Oh, yeah, she was. She was really into it. And I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. Renewables are like the best way we have to cut carbon emissions,
Right.
especially solar and wind power.
Yeah, and the cost of solar has gone down so much. She was saying like 90% in the last 10
It's
years.
crazy. It's one of the cheapest ways to generate electricity now in a lot of places.
And wind power too is just booming, both on land and offshore.
Yeah, the technology is getting better and better all the time.
Mhm.
More efficient, more energy output. It's amazing.
But the problem with solar and wind is that the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow.
Right. That's where battery storage comes in.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah. How do we store all that energy so we can use it when we need it?
Exactly. And Dr. Anand talked about how much progress there's been with battery technology,
Uh-huh.
especially lithium-ion batteries. But also, there are other cool things being developed. And this is key for the future if we want a reliable grid powered by renewables.
And those storage solutions, they're getting better all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the technology's there. That's great. But Dr. Nan also mentioned some challenges with this transition.
Yeah.
What are some of the hurdles?
Well, for one thing, our power grids are kind of old. They weren't designed to handle all this renewable energy that's coming in from so many different places.
Oh, right.
So we need to upgrade them, make them smarter, more flexible, so they can manage all that variable solar and wind power.
Yeah, makes sense.
And of course, we need enough energy storage. That's always going to be a challenge.
Right. Keeping up with demand.
Exactly. But Dr. Anand was pretty optimistic. She didn't see these as like impossible problems,
Okay.
more like complicated engineering challenges
Right.
that we can solve if we put in the effort and resources.
That's a better way to think about it.
Oh.
Okay, so we've talked about governments, the energy sector.
Mhm.
What about businesses? Like, what role do they play in all this?
Yeah, Dr. Carter was really interesting on this too. Corporate responsibility and all the cool innovations that are happening.
Yeah, I feel like you hear a lot about that these days, like companies going green.
And there's a lot of pressure on them to do it, from customers
Mhm.
who want to buy from sustainable companies
Right.
and from governments who are starting to put more regulations in place.
Yeah.
So we're seeing some interesting trends, like a lot of companies are setting these net zero emissions targets.
What does that even mean, like net zero?
So it's kind of like balancing a checkbook, but for carbon.
Okay.
Companies are trying to reduce their emissions as much as possible. And then for any emissions they can't get rid of, they try to remove an equal amount of carbon from the atmosphere.
So it's like They cancel each other out.
Exactly. So their overall impact on the climate is zero.
I see.
And then there's all this cool stuff happening with green technology,
Hmm.
like carbon capture, where they're literally sucking CO2 out of the air.
Really?
Yeah, they're developing these technologies to do that. And then sustainable packaging, trying to get rid of all that plastic, biodegradable materials, things like that.
Wow.
And then this idea of a circular economy,
Hmm.
where they design products to last longer, to be repaired, reused, recycled.
So less waste.
Exactly. Less waste, less need for new raw materials. It's a whole different way of thinking about production and consumption.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Dr. Anand brought up greenwashing, though,
Oh, right, yeah.
which sounds kind of shady.
Yeah, so greenwashing is when a company pretends to be eco-friendly, but they're not really doing that much. It's all marketing.
So, like, how do you know if it's real or not?
Well, you got to look past the slogans. Are they setting real goals? Are they tracking their progress? Are they actually making changes throughout their supply chain? Or is it just, a marketing campaign?
Right. They're just putting a green label on it.
Exactly. But Dr. Anand also said that there are a lot of companies that are doing really good things,
Okay, that's good.
like switching to renewable energy, developing plant-based foods, investing in electric vehicles. So it's not all bad.
So we got to be smart shoppers. Do our research.
Yeah, for sure. Support the companies that are actually walking the walk.
And she said that ultimately what really makes companies change is customers making smart choices and governments putting pressure on them.
Right. When people vote with their dollars and when governments set clear rules, that's when you see real change happening.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The science, the policy, governments, businesses. What about us? Like, what can we actually do as individuals? Does it even matter?
That's the big question.
Yeah. Like, does my little contribution even make a dent in this whole global crisis?
Well, both Dr. Anand and Dr. Carter were actually pretty clear on this. They said, yes, individual actions matter a lot.
Really?
Yeah, they said that while we need big systemic changes, all of our individual choices can add up to make a huge difference.
Okay, so what are some things we can actually do?
Well, they talked about a bunch of stuff, like energy consumption. If you can, switch to energy-efficient appliances, maybe even get solar panels for your house.
All right.
Transportation is a big one, too. Drive less, walk, bike, take public transport.
And fly less?
Yeah. And if you do fly, maybe look into carbon offsetting programs. They can help balance out the emissions from your flight.
Makes sense.
And then it's also about what we buy, what we consume.
Oh, right.
Reduce waste, choose reusable products, support companies that are doing good things for the planet.
And what we eat.
Yeah, our diet has a huge impact. Even just
Yeah.
eating a few more plant-based meals per week can make a difference because meat production is a big source of emissions.
That's something I can definitely work on.
Yeah, me too. And then Dr. Carter talked about advocacy and community action, getting involved, making your voice heard.
Okay, like what? What can we actually do?
Well, voting is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Vote for politicians who care about the climate. You
Right.
can join climate groups, participate in protests.
Make some noise.
Yeah, exactly. And even at a local level, you can encourage your workplace, your kids' schools, your community to adopt greener practices.
So it's not just about changing our own habits. It's about pushing for bigger changes.
Right, it's about both.
Yeah.
And Dr. Carter was really clear that those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Our individual choices can create demand for sustainable products and services, and our collective action can push governments to enact the policies we need.
So it's not about individual actions versus systemic change. It's both.
Exactly. They work together.
Okay, wow. We covered a lot. What are like the key takeaways here if you're just tuning in now?
Okay, so first takeaway. The science is clear. Climate change is happening now. We're seeing the effects.
Second takeaway. We all got to work together on this. Governments, businesses, individuals, everyone has a role to play.
Third takeaway. Renewable energy is the future. We need to invest in it, support it, make the transition happen. But we also need good policies and innovation to make it work.
And last but not least, your actions matter. What you do, what you buy, how you vote. It all adds up.
Right. And if enough of us make changes and speak up, we can create real, lasting change.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. Think about everything we talked about, the science, the solutions, the potential for change. Is there one thing that really resonated with you? One thing you feel inspired to do?
Maybe it's looking into solar panels or eating less meat or calling your representative to talk about climate policy. Whatever it is, no matter how small it seems, it's a step in the right direction.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.